So what if you held an election and one of the two major parties in Australia just didn't turn up?
Well, it's going to happen. These two by-elections for Charlestown and Newcastle, where the seats that were won from the Labor Party at the last state election, the big Barry O'Farrell sweep, after the resignation of the MPs in disgrace last week, the Liberal Party is now saying they're not going to run. Now, this is not new, because what happens when there's a party that holds a seat by a very big margin and then there's a by-election for that seat, usually the opposition or the government, when it's a safe seat one way or the other, decides not to run to save campaigning resources and the like. But this time it's extraordinary, because the Liberal Party holds these two seats. They would normally, you'd never have a sitting MP not run, or the sitting party not run. On this occasion, they're not running for a couple of reasons. Their private polling tells them they'll get smashed by 20% or more. They want to avoid that. And also, it's going to cost them a fair bit of money to run a campaign. And the Liberal Party is spending so much money on legal advice for the ICAC that their coffers are starting to run dry.
And it's inspirational stuff, though, isn't it, to people trying to overcome the odds and to really battle against the elements, to look at what Mike Baird's done and go, well, gee, those Liberals are really standing up and they're really there to be counted. So, it's a really good example to my young kids. Oh Dad, I might not go to school today because there's a big exam and I know I'm going to get smashed in the exam, so I'm not going to turn up.
Well, we've seen that. The NAPLAN exam, there are kids who haven't been properly prepared, who aren't doing the test because they knew they weren't going to get a good score. That's happened. We've got football teams.
Well, the Tigers have just released a statement here. It's just coming through now that in light of what Baird's announced, that they don't really see any point in fighting it out for the last 3 games of the season.
Oh, all right. That's
so I don't blame them either. I mean, they're going to get smashed anyway. So why would they play?
Well, what about you've got AFL teams? Well, the Swans are playing the Western Bulldogs next week. That's a lay down misère. That's going to be a win to the Swans. So why would the Bulldogs bother turning up? Why wouldn't they just have an early weekend away, early Mad Monday?
Let's just spread it right around the state. I mean, you're going to go in and get a shellacking from the boss today, and it's a bit wet. Oh, I'm not going to call in. I'm just not going to go in.
Look, it's very.
I think it's a gutless. I think it's politically a gutless move by this government.
I wonder if they can hold the line on this. The irony is that they've actually done a pretty good job in Newcastle. The privatisation of the ports up there has been a real success, and that money's gone into public transport. It's now the model for a lot of the stuff's happening around the state. They've done a very good job, but because the dopey MP took a donation from a developer, which is banned, they're now saying that they won't run at all. So what do Liberal voters do? Watch out. What'll be interesting is if you get a conservative-leaning, high-profile independent start running, and then on by-election day, let's see who hands out the how-to-vote cards for that person. Would be most interesting, because the best result for the Liberal Party here would be to get a high-profile independent in, not the Labor Party, and that means it's another seat Labor has to win when eventually they'll try and win back government.
Any budding Clive Palmer out there who wants to stand, here's your chance. Well, reminds, what's Nathan Tinkler up to anyway?
Yep.